Jeff, and thank you for your incredible leadership, Senator Schumer. I think the SF one says it all, that this is the first bill of the United States Senate, and thank you for acknowledging my state, which in fact nearly every year has the highest voter turnout in the country, with so many of the people in our state deciding to vote. And when they vote, whether they vote for you or not, they are part of democracy, and that is really what our goal is here. The heart and soul of this bill is making it so people can vote. And if you don't think that's an issue this year, then you slept through all of last year. Because last year what we saw were people trying to make it harder for people to vote. Last year, even after the election, we saw that happening with hundreds of lawsuits that were thrown out by both Democratic and Republican appointed judges. Last year, we saw 8 million more people vote for one candidate for president. Okay, what does a losing party usually do when that happens? They reassess. They look at what their policies are, how they can better reach voters, how they can better have messages. Sadly, that doesn't appear to be what's happening here with, as my colleagues point out, over 250 bills so far introduced, including in my state, in legislatures across the country to suppress the vote. What they are doing right now, they are saying, well, we're not going to change our policies. We're doubling down on them. We're not going to vote for the American Rescue Plan. Instead, we're going to disenfranchise people so that less people vote, because we didn't like what happened in the last election. That is what's going on here. That being said, this bill is supported, as Senator Schumer pointed out, by a majority of Republican constituents. There's an analogy here with the American Rescue Plan that Senator Schumer so deftly got through the Senate. There is an analogy because Republicans and Democrats supported that bill, but it was stopped in this chamber until we figured out a way to do it. This bill is supported by Democrats and Republicans across the country. They hate all the outside money and the negative ads, and they hate the fact that people are trying to make it harder to vote when they've all learned many times for the first time because of the pandemic how to vote by mail. And they say we kind of like it. Now, people in some of these states are trying to take it away from them. This bill, as Jeff pointed out, is about 1, making it easier to vote, 2, getting the dark money out of politics, and 3, cleaning up some of these situations in our country, like the fact that the U.S. Supreme Court, does not have an ethics code in place. So there are some, I remember when I first got to the Senate, and this bill was led in part by Barack Obama, who was then a senator. Our first effort was ethics reform. And guess who signed that bill? Senator Schumer knows this. George Bush signed that bill because we realized there were things that we had to do to clean things up. So one thing you need to know, despite any of this stuff you hear from them about, fraud, when you know you have more chance of getting struck by lightning than committing election fraud, all of that going on, there is significant support for provisions in this bill by Republican governors who made changes in their state. There are 9 major provisions in this bill that are in fact bipartisan, including a number of mine that have been introduced with Republicans. So let's look at what the intent here. And the intent here is to make sure that people have their rights. What does the kids say every day with the Pledge of Allegiance? One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Not for some, for all. And as I said at the inauguration, this is a moment where, after the horror of January 6th, which was all about a group of people using violence to try to stop votes being counted, legal votes being counted, it is the moment where our democracy picks itself up, dusts itself off, and moves forward as we always have together. That's what this bill is about. Thank you. And thank you, Jeff, for your incredible leadership, as well as Senator Schumer.
Okay.